The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you are encouraged to post your comments, whether you agree with moi or not. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we're syndicated into 12 million additional households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. Speaking of CRN Digital Talk Radio, Boaz Frankel, guess where I'm doing the show from on Tuesday?
From CRN Digital Talk Radio with me.
Yes, from CRN Digital Talk Radio. And for those of you in the Paltalk Virtual Auditorium who attempted to turn on your cams, you couldn't do them. It's because Boaz was supposed to set the room with the cams working because Gary was very late getting into the studio, but he did not. Anyways, you can put your cams up now. Please do. Welcome to the show. I don't know if you guys have been following the news very closely about this issue, but the two candidates for President of the United States, the two major candidates, the presumptive GOP nominee, John McCain, and the presumptive Democratic nominee, Barack Obama, have decidedly different views about withdrawal from Iraq. I'm not exactly sure where McCain stands because he was talking about another 100 years and now he's got a plan to get out in his first term of office. But anyway, here to put that into perspective for us is political correspondent Alan Jacey. And then I want to hear from you. Who do you think is better suited to get us out of Iraq with honor, as they say? Alan, very briefly, what are the differences between where the Democratic candidate, Barack Obama, and the Republican candidate, John McCain, stand with regard to Iraq?
Well, you're asking for today or yesterday or tomorrow, because with both candidates, positions seem to be changing faster than what's happening on the ground. Right now we see Obama evolving his position, and it seems to be more in line with the what is happening on the ground strategy. To what you alluded to earlier about McCain, Gary, I mean, that 100 years thing has been taken out of context. But he never, during that point, he never really did elaborate correctly on what he meant. He meant they could be in Iraq 100 years, wouldn't matter to him, as long as there was no action on the ground. So I think that, and by action I mean that U.S. soldiers taking casualties, more in line with the model of South Korea, Germany, and Japan. I think Obama's big thing is that where he's pushing these days is that he's saying, while we're busy trying to mop up in Iraq, we've still lost sight of the fact that it was the Taliban sponsorship of al-Qaeda in Afghanistan that attacked us on September 11, and that's where our efforts should be and should have always been. And that the Iraq war, conflict, however you want to put it, has been the one that sidetracked those efforts, because let's face it, it's almost 7 years later, and bin Laden is still in the hills of either Afghanistan or Pakistan, and we're still mired in Iraq. While the position is certainly getting better on the ground for our troops, there's still a lot to be done as we see more and more conflicts happening in Iraq and Afghanistan, and we U.S. troops took some major casualties the other day. 9 soldiers were killed at a remote base, and that base has now been abandoned. So it's getting pretty hairy on the ground, and in Afghanistan, and we just don't have any troops that we can send over there to quell the insurgents of the Taliban and the Al-Qaeda that is there, in their home territory.
Well, interestingly, when you talk about Afghanistan, I heard John McCain say just today that the problem is that there are 3 layers of military command for the United States in Afghanistan, and as we all know, he is a war hero. He was an officer and a gentleman in the United States Navy Air Corps during Vietnam, and so he has a little bit of perspective when it comes to this, and he says that that's no way to run a war. I'll tell you, listening to him speak about that, it gives me some confidence that at least with regard to moving the military around, he's a guy who might know what he's talking about and doing if he were president.
Yeah, Gary, but you know what? Today or yesterday, whenever he said that, it was the first day that he said it, and it was several weeks ago where he pointed out that things were fine in Afghanistan, and we need not worry with what's happening on the ground there, that we had it perfectly under control. Now things seem to be changing, and all of a sudden he's amending his position on the urgency of what needs to be done in Afghanistan. The one thing you can say about Obama, though, is that he has been consistent on Afghanistan for all this time. Not so much on Iraq, but certainly on Afghanistan. And